Hey guys, welcome to the You Are Worthy Network. It's great to be with you again. Hope you've had a wonderful Wednesday. I can't believe that I haven't been on here in about 5 or 6 days. I miss y'all when I don't get to be with you. And so I just wanted to say hello to everybody. I know we're in that time of year where the deadlines and the hustle and bustle and the Christmas parties, whether it's with the neighborhood or at the office, it's full on go right now. Slow down, pump the brakes, remember the reason for the season, remember whose you are, all that other stuff. It's good stuff, but it'll be okay. It'll still be there. I also want to thank each one of you. I'm blown away. I'm blown away, first of all, by God and how he's using you guys. I don't know if you guys seen it a couple hours ago. I posted congratulations, giving him the praise because we just went past 5,000 members and you guys are incredible. I'm extremely grateful for each one of you. This is why we're here, is to serve each one of you. I hope you're loving the value. I hope you're loving the guest. And I'm just so appreciative and just wanted to verbalize that to each one of you. Thank you. You know, I get the honor of getting to meet new and exciting people all the time by doing this. And my guest today has become a friend of mine. It's someone that I respect greatly. And I think she's going to come across as extremely warm, kind, and giving. And we'll have a few other adjectives, I'm sure, by the time we're done. But with no further ado, let me tell you a little bit more about Molly. Molly Trotter Gomez is the go to strategist for leaders who are ready to find their voice, own their authority, and build an unstoppable personal brand that speaks for itself. A former television reporter turned international speaker and high level coach, Molly brings the skill, precision, and storytelling mastery that leaders at every level need, from launching their voice to commanding global stages. In a noisy marketplace, and it is, your message is your differentiator. Molly helps you master it through a signature story that builds trust, content that converts, and speaking skills that elevate you into the undeniable expert in your space. If you're ready to rise as a powerhouse and effective communicator, create a brand that turns heads, and become the voice that people cannot ignore, Molly is the mentor you want in your corner. I totally agree. Molly, love the bio, love your heart even more. Thank you for being on the You Are Worthy Network.
Of course. I'm honored to be here, and I know you've had some incredible guests, so I'm just blessed to be a part of the lineup.
Oh, you're awesome. So tell the folks watching, and one of the real treasures, if you will, of having a group that's grown like this is, it's not just people in the States watching, South America, Europe, Africa. It's incredible the bandwidth. So tell us what part of the world you're coming from today.
Well, I live recently just moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, so that is where I'm coming from.
Okay. And you liking the new culture?
We are. We moved from Southern California. A lot of people in Vegas are explants of Southern California. I wasn't like the biggest fan moving out here. I'm like 100% Southern California and then came here and so many doors have opened. Love the weather out here. I love just how close things are. Things are not that far. I'm a foodie, so there is so much food here. Praise the Lord. So there is so many things to be grateful for and great nature. So Vegas is one of those where it's a hidden gem. A lot of people just think of the strip and all the craziness down there, but there is so much more. And I will tell you, God is definitely moving in Las Vegas for sure.
There is, it's interesting. There is a lot more. I've only been once, and it was to visit a friend that's a church leader. He had started a new position out there, and a couple of us went out there to encourage him because he used to be our pastor back here in Tennessee. And I didn't know there was so much diversity to Vegas. You think just the strips and the
Mhm.
the slot machines and all that. But Mount Charleston, which you and I have talked about, I don't think you've had the chance to go quite yet, is incredible. And then is it oh my goodness, it just escaped my mind. The lake, is it Lake Mead?
Lake Mead's here and the Red Rocks are here. The Red Rocks are incredible. There's so much out here. And then Utah's not that far. So everybody's
Yeah.
like, you got to go over to Utah and experience all, Zion and all the things over there. So we have lots on our bucket list that we get to check off very soon.
That's so cool. And the food, by the way, yeah, not I don't know if it's still this way. Not only is it good, it used to be inexpensive, but I don't know if anything's inexpensive anymore.
No, it's more expensive now because of COVID and all the things with the tourism and all of that, but you can still find some hidden gems that are pretty good. So I'm just grateful I tell people I work out so I can eat, so I can
Yeah.
enjoy the food that I actually want.
Yeah, that's funny you said that. I remember when well, I still work out a lot, but when I was really into it, it's like I had a friend that said, um, you think about a soft drink or a Gatorade or whatever. They're like, no, 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 no. I'm on a calorie count and I want to eat my calories, not drink my calories. I'm like,
That part.
that's awesome.
Yes, I love Italian food, and real Italian food is very heavy. And so I'm just like, and they'll have the calorie count next to the dish, and I'm like, why would you do that? But I don't even care because I'm still gonna eat it anyways, and maybe I just will fast for the next 12 hours because my body needs to digest.
It's kind of like going to a cheesecake factory and you know what? I'm just going to get the cheesecake for dinner.
That part, yes, that too. Yum. You're making me hungry, Steve. I'm
Yeah,
starving.
I think you mentioned the restaurants first, but yes,
You're right.
I'm sabotaging both of us. So tell us about your hubby a little bit.
Yes, so my husband and I, we've been married for just over 5 years. I love to tell people that my husband is a unicorn. When you find a unicorn, you don't just let it trot on off. So I was like, oh, no, 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 you come here. He's my best friend. I'm super grateful. We're both entrepreneurs, so just running after the businesses that God's given us. We haven't started a family yet in God's timing. I'm sure it'll happen at some point. I know you and I've had that conversation, but he's just incredible. His creativity and eye to really help people in the video space take their vision, their mission, their story to life. And he and I have had the pleasure of being able to help people craft their signature stories together. And it's incredible. It's like, from being a former news anchor till now, like being able to be married to a videographer, like the pairing, you can't make this stuff up. Like I wasn't looking for that at all.
Oh,
Because my husband and I, when we met, we were just friends, but there was a expediting when God basically told me he was supposed to be my husband. And within dating, engaged, and married, all of that was in 11 months. It led right into COVID, and we were like, we're not waiting for the world to figure itself out. So we had like a tiny little beach wedding, ate some food, and that's that. Didn't even take a honeymoon because at that point you couldn't really travel. So it's been a blessing though to be married with somebody that you can have real, honest, good conversations with, build things with. I honestly couldn't ask for anything more.
that's awesome. I hope the honeymoon has happened since.
It actually has not. It has not happened since because we've had a crazy roller coaster of a ride, and we're like, should we? No, okay, okay. And then we moved. I didn't see this move from Southern California to Nevada like ever happening. So God just puts us on all these different trajectories, but it's okay. At the end of the day, like, would that have been nice? Sure, but it's not what matters. Just like for me, a big wedding didn't matter. It was marrying my person that mattered. So you start getting rid of all the things that are like, if I don't have this, I'm not doing it. You're not keeping the main thing, which you might hear that phrase a lot during this interview because that is definitely a thing that keeps coming up in my life is how can we focus on the main thing and not be distracted by all the other stuff that the world is plugged into these areas.
That's so good. Keep the main thing the main thing. Love that.
Yeah.
Um, so do you guys have a lot of hobbies that you do together?
Let's see here. So we both like to exercise. We both like to work out. We cannot work out together. My husband's like a 3 hour at the gym type of guy. I'm 45 minutes and done. Like, I mean, it's maybe an hour because I'm 15 minutes in the sauna beforehand and then I'm out. Like, so I'm quick with it. He takes his time. So we both love to do that. We love to be out in nature. So when it gets a little bit warmer, it's a little chilly now here in Vegas. There's a lot of hiking, a lot of outdoor stuff, which is going to be really great. Outside of that, like what else do we like to do together? Yeah, I guess those are like the top two that really come to mind. And then, there's other things like but one thing I really love is he and I both create space where it's like you have time to go off with your friends or do things that you need to do, and I do things that I need to do just to kind of fill our own personal tanks. But we spend quite a bit of time together. So we have a non-negotiable date night. I think a lot of couples do that. If you don't, do it. It's important. And so we spend a lot of time together, but we're not afraid of spending time apart, and having those moments where we can have, that time with our friends or just a self date if you need it.
It's so good to keep that appointment for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, you tell me if I'm wrong here. So you were talking about the length of time, the compare and contrast about his like time in the gym and yours. I used to do an hour and a half, and maybe it's because I've gotten older, maybe it's because I've gotten busier. It's more like an hour now, and I'm kind of like you. I'm like in and out. Now, what happens? I'll speak for myself. What's happened though, you go to the same gym for a few years and you start to get to know the regulars, and some of them like to talk, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like being friendly and sociable, but like I gotta have those earbuds in. I'm listening to my music, it's upbeat. I'm like, I have the tiger time. And so like I want to have the conversation, but like I gotta, maybe it's one earbud in, one earbud out, think kind of showing them I gotta get right back to it. Does that strike a resemblance there to you any?
The last gym I was a part of in Southern California, I didn't talk to anybody for like 6 months. I actually wear a hat really low, and then I have big headphones on. So it's a very big sign, don't talk to me. This is my time. But if somebody comes up to me, of course I'll be nice and say something, right? Like, but for the first little bit there, I'm pretty unapproachable because I'm like, I'm here for me. So the last gym I was at, I eventually ended up leaving because I just knew it was time to switch. But there were so many conversations happening that it literally cut my workout time in half. And then I would have to be like, hey, I gotta run. I'm gonna go work out. Or I just wouldn't even make eye contact with people, finish what I had to do, and then make time for talking at the end. So yes, it definitely does happen. But my husband, some of the things that I laugh, I'm like, why are we at the gym so long? He's like, oh, I got a couple calls in between, so I stepped outside and took those calls. I'm like, why don't those calls just wait and then you can talk to them after? And so that's why I think his gym time is obviously so long, is because of that. And so for me, I'm like, I go so early, my phone is not ringing. He goes like in the middle of the day, or now he'll switch from like the middle of the day or maybe like at night. So it just depends. So of course the phone's ringing. But yeah, I'm in a do not bother me time when I'm at the gym.
I'll occasionally take a phone call if it's important and I'm in a place where I can. I made the mistake a couple weeks ago of taking my first Zoom, including the video. It was a little impromptu, but it was one I needed to make. And I'm on the elliptical, and it's elliptical with heavy resistance and all that. I'm like, I see myself in the screen. I'm like up and down, starting to sweat. I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this again. But it's funny. We all got to do what we got to do, right? I want to transition, and you even mentioned it, that you did work in your background with news reporting. How did you get into that field? Did you go to school for that?
So I went to basically to get into be a news reporter. Yes, you can go to there's certain programs. ASU has a really big program. There's other, other big programs around the country. It really is who you know to get in. I went to a really small school, and journalism was like a little just bloop on the map for them. I just was, but I was close to a station in the city I was living in, a bigger station in Portland, Oregon. So I was able to actually bring one of their top reporters out to like teach a class, and I built rapport with him. And because of him, I got my foot in the door. So that's how I ended up getting in. But I remember my first news job, somebody came in and I think she had like a medical background, but because somebody liked her and said, yeah, great, come on in. It's like, what? So it's the point proven of like, it's who you know. You never know, you can get in the door. So yes, I did go to school for that, but mainly, I mean, they didn't really teach me much, to be honest with you. It's like once you get in the door, then it's like you just get thrown into the fire and you figure it out.
It's amazing how many industries are like that. The school, it's great to have the credentials, but it doesn't really teach you the hands-on work that's going to be needed.
Yes.
So how long did you do that for?
I was in the news industry for about 5 years, until I got fired, which is a whole conversation, but biggest blessing I could ever have. I actually still have the email saying Molly no longer works at X station anymore. I'm working on getting that framed and putting it up in my office. So I got to look at that being like, thank you so much, because without that, I wouldn't be where I am today.
That is a whole nother conversation that we could explore, but another time. So yeah, how did God use it? And I know we're glazing over it because there's got to be emotions involved with that at the time. But how did God parlay that news at the time to what you're doing now?
Well, getting into this industry of the news industry back then, I was like, okay, the whole goal is you start at like a small station, and then I worked my way up to a medium station, and you get to a bigger station. And so there's a small, medium, and large markets, right? Top markets, Chicago, LA, New York, of course. Medium-sized markets are like Portland, Oregon, San Diego. San Diego's super desirable, so obviously everybody wants to go there. So that was the whole goal, is to kind of work your way up. And I got a ton of experience on the weather wall, sports reporting, anchoring. Obviously, we had to write, shoot, and edit our own stories. I was one of the top breaking news reporters where they're like, hey, there's a fire, there's an accident, or something happened. We basically took what was like called we called it the live backpack, where we plugged it into our camera, and it was like this backpack looking thing that went live instead of the big old truck with a photographer because they scaled back. So I learned a lot of like thinking on the fly, doing things on the fly, writing on the fly, reporting of all things. The technology doesn't work. Oh, hey, you have to go live in 3 seconds. Do you have your story? No, I don't, because no one's talked to me. I say all of that as you really have to figure it out in the moment. And I've had plenty of flubs. I have bloopers that are still up on my YouTube that I keep up there to like have people go poke fun at because you think it's hard for you. Like that was in front of thousands and thousands of people laugh at my expense. And so it happens. You're going to mess up and it's going to be okay. And I did that plenty of times. But it prepared me, and I didn't know, but it prepared me because when you are working on a story, some stories you're working on for 5 minutes and you have to go live in 2 seconds. Some you're working on all day, and then all you get is 15, 30, maybe up to 90 seconds. So you have to take all that information, what actually matters, and then you have to write around that. And then you have what are called sound bites where you're hearing from other people. So you learn how to story tell in a way that the news wanted. And a lot of that was just like, gosh, this is so doom and gloom. And so every once in a while, I got a good story where I was like, oh, this is good. This is going to resonate with people in a positive way. So I realized when I got out of that industry, I have all the skills to tell stories, but it was a matter of telling the right ones.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. So, was there a bridge between news reporting to owning your own business, or was that almost instantaneous?
No, 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 no. There was definitely a bridge. So one of the things I got fired over was one, it was a combo of things. They would tell me like, hey, can we like change your story to this? Like, adjust some information. I said, that's not accurate. They're like, well, we want this.
Mm.
And I would say, that's too bad. That's my integrity. And I would walk out. So I started pushing back, which was the beginning of the end. No long, hindsight. But then I actually got involved in a network marketing company because I was not making good money in the news. I was working crazy overtime, still making poor money, had 3 credit cards open just to survive, to do normal
Mhm.
things. It was just nuts. And so I got into network marketing, talking about products that I loved, had a health transformation, and they saw that and they basically fired me over it. Long story short. So I started like in network marketing, opened my eyes to personal growth, leadership, being able to network and create an income off of that. And I had really great mentors across the board in all of my network marketing companies. So I have not a bad thing to say about it. I've seen things that haven't been great, but people are people. The industry actually does people a favor at a very low overhead. You can get a lot of experience in training. But it wasn't until maybe a couple years later that I was discovered, in a sense, by my now brother-in-law. I ended up speaking at an event. He was the keynote. He saw something in me and said, hey, he basically said, how much money are you making? I'll do more than that. Long story short, come and work for me in the marketing department, helping coaches build and scale. And he cast the vision for me. And I said, okay, great. So I got in there and maybe like a year, maybe less, a year or two later, I don't know, can't remember now. I had the ding idea of as I'm helping these coaches, they all need what the skill set that I have of being able to communicate effectively and clearly and build what I like to call that emotional bridge, not just a business pitch, but something that actually connects. And so then I eventually transitioned out of that digital marketing company and built my first consulting company. So it was a bit of like a lot of learning of, sales and putting yourself out there and networking. And then I remember, and this is the last piece I'll say on this, is there was a season where I was so hungry to network inside of the digital marketing business that I interviewed people 3 times a day 3 times a day for a whole year, maybe missed a few days during the week, I should say, on my Instagram. That's how I built a network out of scratch to
Mm.
get to know people in like knowing that they would probably be an ideal client for what I had. And then it just opened me up to all the networking opportunities. I don't know anybody who would do 3 interviews a day. I look back on it being like, what in the like what? But I did, because I was hungry for it. And so I've seen it work because networking should never be left off the table. That is like hands down has to be done no matter what, because that will lead you to some of your biggest people. I've had it time and time again, various opportunities.
No. Well, I want to take you back for just a second. Two comments. I love your integrity. I mean, you're trying to make additional money, and yet, I know we don't want to go down that rabbit hole. It's in the past for a reason. There's a reason why the rear view mirror is smaller than the front windshield. But I love how you stood your ground on your integrity, and that shows what kind of person you are. On a humorous note, I don't know how much truth there is in it. I had somebody tell me one time. Now this is pertaining to one market, so I don't know if it was true for this market or if it's a universal thing. But they told me that the meteorologists had to submit 3 weather reports to the producer, and the producer would pick which one went on the air. Does that sound like commonplace, or is that kind of a
Maybe in bigger
strict?
stations. I mean, because if they were that sounds to me like they obviously weren't doing it live. They were recording it and maybe it was
Mm,
for a show of some sort, but that doesn't surprise me. I've never heard of that, but it doesn't surprise me that they want to pick whatever narrative and whatever,
yeah,
flow for the show that they want with that
yeah,
recording.
yeah. Okay, we'll leave that in the past because it is in the past. Tell us who's your ideal client? Who do you love working with? Can't wait to get out of bed after you have your quiet time with the Lord. I don't know if you're a coffee drinker after you get settled in, and you can't wait to serve this ideal client. Tell us about that person.
That person would be more of like an established business owner, multiple 6, 7 figures. They've had success, but they have never really fully put themselves out there to share their story. So it takes a level of surrender, submission, doing the work, but also getting rid of the fears and insecurities you have of putting me out there as the face and the voice. But that's what people want. They want transparency. They want the face. They want the voice. And everybody's trying to pass it off to AI or something else. Those are
Mm,
some of my favorite people to work with. And then helping them, like, usually they're in a stage where they're needing to delegate more, keeping the main thing the main thing. What do you want to do day in and day out? Keep that the thing. And now it's time to hire out. I do have a lot of people who are brand new though that come to me because they just want to do it right. And they're like, I don't want to mess around. And you cover a lot from the storytelling, crafting my signature story, building a profitable brand, and even helping them build out their business suite. Like what suite of offers do they want? What's in that offer, the framework, and actually getting into the nitty gritty with them. I've done that several times. And I love doing that for people that are hungry. But I always preface it with this. Here's what I'm going to bring to the table. And if you feel like that, like, and by the end of this, you should have a couple clients already booked and signed and enrolled. That is the goal. Now, if you don't, like, I'm just telling you, I'm going to give you everything you need to do that. And if you feel like you're ready for that, let's do it. If you feel like you're not, I'm not a good fit for you because I want people to get results. I'm very bold in that way where I don't want you to come in here and be like, oh, this was just another, oh, they just took my money and nothing happened. I will
mm.
give you everything that you need and be available to answer every question, everything that you need, especially obviously the people that work privately with me. So we can really get this thing going or expanding in the way that it needs to. No excuses. So the last piece that I'll say to this is the the low hanging fruit. You will have a story that converts, content that converts, and a profitable brand. Low hanging fruit, but everybody wants that. The high hanging fruit, there's going to be revealing and healing that only the Lord can do, and you cannot grow a business if you're not willing to heal. You can't get to that next level. The phrase that he gave me is your business will only grow at the extent that you're willing to heal. So that's why I love working with more established people because it's like you got to have some humility and surrender to release in order to have the slingshot effect. You're getting pulled back, but you'll have exponential speed once you're released.
I love that. Your business will only grow as you have allowed the healing to take place, or however you worded that. That's so good because like mindset is such a huge, huge part of this. But I say there's another step that a lot of folks are missing, and it sounds like you've got this step. Like my thought on mindset is whether it's a block or a gap, there's trauma or a wound somewhere that caused it. We got to
Yes.
go back and identify it at minimal. Now, there may be different ways of addressing it, whether that's therapy, whether that's, a community group, maybe just some practicals. It depends on what the wound is. But you're not going anywhere mindset wise until that wound has been dealt with.
Yes, yes. I mean, it reminds me of a phrase that I kept hearing for the longest time, fractured foundations. We're building things on fractured foundations. Then when it starts to kind of like crumble and fall, we're like, what happened? Well, it was fractured. And guess what? We all have fractured foundations, but we can go back before it all crumbles and allow the Lord to come in to reveal and heal. And you have to do that. You get to do that. It's not a should I, you need to. Like, and I know that's very bold, but you do because I've seen it time and time again when people get to that place where it's usually not too late, but they're like at their wits' end. It's like you don't have to wait that long. I'll recognize the season that you're in. And we're in a really big shifting season for people. People are shifting into brand new seasons. A lot of people are starting from scratch and new things or just a completely new way of putting content out there or operating. Flow with it. Don't try to press against it and do what you've always done because there's so much more on the other side of you just flowing with it and allowing the Lord to lead. And I know it's not all the steps that you want in front of you, but just go when it shows. Just be obedient when it shows. Then it releases a lot of stress. I'll tell you what.
And that we were having this talk earlier too. Like you didn't use this word. You said go with the flow. I totally concur with that. What's on the other side of that? Yes. What have you been saying no to? Because that's been your default mindset. And saying yes, what kind of opportunities could God open up to you having a mustard seed of faith with that opportunity?
Yes, it's so many people are just stuck and they're wondering why. It takes
Mhm.
a second to be able to ask and allow the Lord to reveal, to heal. Sometimes there's even people that will come into your life and speak into your life, being like, I'm not really sure if this resonates, but here you go. Somebody's speaking a prophetic word. You get to be open. But so many people are closed off because they've been hurt, because they've been burned, because of the lies that they're telling themselves. And one of the questions I love to ask is, when are you going to stop telling yourself that story?
Yes. Time to write a new story.
Yes.
Yes, I love that. Okay. I love this conversation. I want you to think for a minute, but not overthink. I'm going to give you, I want you to think about a sampling of your clients. Okay. And I want you to describe to me 3 words, not more than 3 words. You have to think about this for a minute about how they were feeling before they retained you. Does that make sense?
Yes, 3 words of how they were feeling before they started working with me.
Yes. So when you have those three, let me know. And that's half the exercise.
Okay, happy. Okay, go on.
And then the rest is the 3 words that would describe how they felt about the experience after working with you. Yes, I'm giving you an opportunity. I'm setting you up to boast a little bit in the work that you do.
Hey, you know what? I'm only boasting because he's doing it through me. I'm the vessel. So I hear
It's
you.
all God. I'm with you. Yes.
Okay, so I have the three of what they felt before, and then after, let's see here.
You say those three
Oh, got it.
before.
Okay,
The after will kind of flow naturally from that.
totally. Okay, so before they started working with me, I've heard this time and time again. Overwhelmed, probably the top
Mm.
one. Anxious and unsure because there's so much to talk about. They're just like basically their brain short circuits. So after
Okay.
they get done with me, the number one thing that I hear is increased confidence. How they stand, how they talk, how they enter into rooms. It's like it almost brings a tear to my eye, being like, "You did this! Like, I'm so proud of you." So clear, confident, clear, and creative. A lot of people even get more creative because there's a process I'll take them through to really brain dump and drain the tank, if you will, of all these ideas and topics that you can talk about. We just have to put them in a system so you can go and cherry pick what you want to talk about when. But we don't even know what to post sometimes because there's so much swirling around up there. So seeing people get creative and clear on like, okay, I know what my themes are, I know what my topics are, I know what I'm going to talk about in the topic, and getting straight to the point. That has been a huge thing because people, the plane's going like this and it never lands, and so now they know how to land it.
You have to know when to land it for sure. Uh, yeah, so let's quickly evaluate that because there's power in what we just did. So you work with Molly, you can go, and God does this. I'm in total agreement. God does this. You go from overwhelmed to confident, from anxious to clear, from unsure to creative. She even got the three C's in there on the after. I like that. But that's powerful. I mean, there's transformation in that process. That's what I was trying to get to. There's transformation that's happening. God's using you as the vessel, but in their deeper healing, their new mindset, their new story that they're writing,
Yes.
this is what happens. Increased confidence, increased clarity, increased creativity. It's powerful, Molly.
Yes. Now I love that exercise. That's good. I don't think I've ever been asked that before. And it's just an honor, right? Like if we can come from that place of we can help facilitate that environment for the Lord to truly work, to see people really transform their lives and give them bold love. Like don't be the person that they hire just to get the things that they want to hear. Be the person that's going to speak what they need to hear, even if they don't want to hear it. Because otherwise we're just like no one's ever going to get anywhere. So yes, it has been a lot of fun and an honor and so many more stories and I'm sure words and outcomes to come.
Yeah, no, I love that. Tell us, you also, we didn't, I don't think we read this in the bio, and I don't think we've mentioned it here yet, but you also have a podcast, right? Tell us a little bit about
Yes.
that.
Yes. So my podcast is called It's Bigger Than Me. What's funny is the Lord gave me that phrase and I used it as a hashtag for like the longest time on every post. It's bigger than me. And when you think about it, everything that we do, say, it's bigger than us. It's like the visual of you see a glass lake in the morning and then you throw a rock in it and you watch the ripple. Like you're rippling into things you don't even know. It's impacting people and places and just so much you have no idea. And so everything we do is bigger than us. So the stories that come on, I really love to highlight the messy middle because everybody can get excited and they're like, "Oh, this person sounds so great." Like literally they can almost sound untouchable because they got their little, marketing spew of here's how great I am, which is awesome. I love to dig into the story, the background, and then we get to the juicy middle of what was that place where maybe you weren't confident, or that moment where enough was enough and you had a turning point, or whatever it was where it seemed kind of dark, but then you know what? You made a decision, and then look what happened. And this is where you are currently. So sometimes people have even shared their messy middle and they're currently going through it. And I say, hats off to
Yeah,
you because that's hard to,
yeah,
because unless you have that true deep faith in the Lord, knowing that you know that you know that you know that He's going to lead you through, and He will. But it's hard to see that sometimes in the middle of the storm because you're seeing all the chaos and distraction. So I love highlighting that piece. And the Lord had me bring that podcast about 3 years ago just to give other people a place to elevate their voice. Because one of the first like handful of podcasts I have was new voices, new leaders are emerging, and that is still happening. There's just this new remnant that's coming up, this new sound that is real. It's not just this marketing spew to sound good. It's actually real.
yeah. And the podcast is extremely well done. You ought to check it out.
We have
Bigger
to
than
post your
me.
episode. Post your episode below in the comments because Steve was on as a guest and it was incredible. I loved your story that you shared.
It was a lot of fun. You made it easy for sure. Bigger than me, right?
It's bigger than me. Yes, on
It's bigger than me.
Apple, YouTube, and Spotify.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you perfectly set up the segue for this next question. You were talking about the messy middle. I'm not necessarily going to ask you about the middle per se, but I am intrigued to know. You've experienced some real highs professionally. You're still on a high from just being married 5 years ago, and now you've had this move that you were a little, I don't know if anxious is the word, but a little unsure about the move.
Mhm.
And it sounds like God's opened some great doors for you in the move, and you're experiencing, great success by His grace with your business. But I'm interested to know about a time in your life where you didn't feel so worthy.
Yes, that is and I think it's always good to highlight these things because this is the relatable part, right? And when we actually even speak about this, I do this with my clients too. It's like you get to recall and see how much you've grown, or maybe something gets revealed if you still need to heal in that. So I remember a time, this is when I got fired from the news. Actually, I think it was maybe a week before I got fired. It all happened within 1 week. A gentleman that I was dating, I call him my almost ex-fiance. I found out that he was cheating on me with the woman that he was cheating on me
Mm,
with, didn't even know. She messaged me on Instagram. I call her the side chick of the year. Like, why would you cop up to that? But thank you. Because I knew that
mm,
he asked my parents for permission to marry me. And then it just, that he was gonna propose live on television, I guess was the whole plan, never did it. So I end up confronting him about this. He lies about it. Then he tells the truth. And within the same breath, he was like, well, I'm going to be moving across the country. And I was like, what? He's like, and I'm like, don't you want to work this out? Like, please, let's work this out. That was a moment where I felt so unworthy and so desperate that even though he
mm,
cheated on me, lied about it, just was in there was so much that he and I had went through. Like he recovered from cancer, the amount of like just so many things that we went through together. I felt so unworthy. Like, how could you cheat on me? Because, side note, before my husband, almost every single person that I had been with, relationship wise, has cheated on me. So that one, to know it got so close to marriage, and he even had the gumption to ask my dad, and I'm a daddy's girl, for the hand of marriage, and then for that to happen. Like, what? And so I had this moment where I was like, no, will you take me back? Will you take me back? Even though he did this to me. And it wasn't long after that I just felt so unworthy. Like, how come everyone cheats on me? Like, do I just have this sign stamped
mm.
on my forehead? Like, what is this? And it just brought me to this low. And then a week, like in that same week, I ended up getting fired. So talk about like I'm at the bottom. My life is starting over. And this is a whole nother story, but I basically like packed up my car with what would fit, sold the rest, and moved to California. I said, all right, we're ripping off this band-aid of all of it. We're going to a place we actually want to live, which is Southern California.
Wow. I mean, that speaks a lot of your heart. And I won't go down this too far, but like he was the one unfaithful, and you still were so invested you wanted to work it out. And then, kind of the flippant, moving across the country thing. But because I know you a little bit, I'm going to ask this question. How did your faith help you be resilient in that situation?
That's a great question. I've always had like a pretty strong level of faith my entire life. I remember the first time I ever heard the Lord speak to me audibly, I was 7. So I knew I was set apart from a really early age. I kind of ran from it from a little bit because I'm like, this is scary. I don't know what this is. But I've always had this deep knowing. And it was that deep knowing paired with, I'll be honest, probably pride of like, well, forget you then, all y'all. Like, I'm out of here and just kind of did one of these and then just packed up and left. And I was like, I'm gonna go figure this out on my own because I don't sit in things too long. I know that's like if you let it like stew, you're gonna go down a dark, dark hole. I don't let
Okay.
things stew too long and call that great, call that a good thing or a bad thing. I've brushed things under the rug that probably should have healed a long time ago. But it was just like, you know what? I just had this knowing like God's got me. I'm gonna go do this. I know I'm supposed to move. Let's move somewhere we actually want to. But I was dealing with a lot of backlash too, so it was really challenging because my family was constantly like, basically, you were a golden child and you got fired. How could you do this to us? That was their
Mm,
response back then. After everything that went down, I was like, what? So it was great to have the distance, and God's just like, I got you. And I only moved to California with $2,000 in my bank account, by the way, which goes nowhere in a state that's that expensive. So I was couch surfing, living with friends, family, just trying to figure it out. But he put this tenacious spirit in me of if anybody's going to do it, I'm going to do it. My pride used to take over that a lot. Now it's obviously like pride's out, the Lord's in, he guides my steps, but he's always been there.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. So tell us, Molly, where can people find you? We're going to include that in the description after the interview, but where can people find you to learn more about all the great work that you're doing?
Yes, well, this has been amazing, Steve. Thank you so much for having me on. You've pulled things out that I'm like, wow, Lord, like, thank you. Thank you for the healing. Thank you for the revealing. Thank you for the opportunity.
Mm,
Whoever this is supposed to touch, let it be so. Let it be so because healing is yours in Jesus' name. So I would say the best places I mean, I'm on all social platforms. Molly underscore Trotter on Instagram, but I think everywhere else it's Molly Trotter Gomez. Added my married name on there. So you can find me here on Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, Signature Story Co. For those that are like, you know what, it's time to share the story. It's time to see what those next steps are. I got a really great like just suite of opportunity to show you of whatever whatever spot that you're at. Whether it's something that's small or something a little bit bigger, you want to go all in. And if you go on that website, there's a form to fill out so I can get to know you, where we got connected, and then be able to book a call because 2026 is around the corner, and the decisions you make now, whether it's putting a deposit down, making a decision, going all in, like it is going to have a massive ripple effect in 2026 instead of just waiting for the holidays to be over, then we press in. It's time to press in now.
yeah, I love that. 2026. Here's my question to you guys out there. What dream? You're pregnant with a dream. Maybe I heard this last night at an event. Like some of you have been pregnant with that dream a lot longer than 9 months. Some of you have been pregnant with that dream for years. Is 2026 going to be the year that you finally give birth to that dream? Molly can help. I know that. But I just want to encourage you guys that your story is not over yet. If you're watching this, that means you got air in your lungs, you got a pulse, it means God's not done yet. Molly, any words of encouragement you want to leave our viewers with before we go?
I would say I would share this. This is a quote that the Lord gave me a long time ago to run with. Your story is meant to be mentorship to somebody else. You get mentored, you get poured into by other people's stories. Why not yours? Why not now? So now is the time to press in because your story is meant to be mentorship for somebody else.
Your story is meant to be mentorship to somebody else. Wow, how powerful. Molly, this has been a blast. I want to thank you for your vulnerability, for your wisdom, and for your warmth. It's come shining through. I know people are going to be super inspired and encouraged by your walk with the Lord and what you've learned and how you're serving people. This has been a treat. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Absolutely. Guys, you're worthy. I'll tell you why you're worthy. You're worthy because of what Jesus did on the cross.
Mm,
Without that, we're not worthy. The
that's
Bible
right.
says that. No one is good. No, not one, Paul says. But when God said, I'm sending my only son for you,
Mm,
and he did not quit in that process of 33 years, he went all the way to the cross and all that he endured before that, all the way to the point where he said, it is finished and took his last breath.
mm.
The blood he shed made us worthy, especially of love. So I hope you're encouraged. I appreciate each one of you. I celebrate each one of you. Till next time, God bless. Take care.